Welcome everyone to Bitcoin Magazine's Meet the Plebs. Today I have a fantastic guest. It's been an excellent help here at the team ever since he joined. Before we begin, of course, I have to tell you about the Bitcoin conference happening in Miami, April 6th to the 9th, Bitcoin 2022. You can get your tickets off with a discount, 10%, with the code TACOPLEBS, no space, and just insert that when you're checking out and you'll get 10% off. And I believe if you pay with Bitcoin, you get $100 off the general admission price. And for those of you interested in the technical analysis side of things, on-chain analytics, we have the deep dive subscription product made by Dylan LeClaire, who's an excellent analyst here at Bitcoin Magazine. You can get a discount on that with the code MACRO21. So make sure to do that and check out that product. But without further ado, welcome to the show, Chris Alaimo.
How's it going? Thanks for having me, Casey.
It's great to have you on. Chris joined our team on the multimedia side and pretty much got us working on the live show. Many of the videos y'all have been seeing, Chris has been working with the team on those. So it's been excellent to have you on this side of the team, and welcome to BTC Inc. As a company as a whole. But without further ado, I would like to ask how you started to get into Bitcoin, because everyone has an interesting story which led them down the rabbit hole, and curious what led you to Bitcoin, Chris.
Yeah, so my story, like most Bitcoiners, I guess you don't buy at the first time that you hear about it. I wish that was true, and I think many Bitcoiners that are now in it, either full-time or just consider themselves Bitcoin maximalists, agree to the same sentiment, because normally when you first heard about it, the price was much, much lower compared to when you bought in. But I guess Bitcoin has a way of humbling everyone. So I actually did hear about Bitcoin back in 2010 with the Bitcoin pizza story. Like I said, of course, I did not buy any then. Had I wished I would have, yes, definitely. But I remember hearing about it in the news. This guy uses this internet money called Bitcoin to buy the first pizza. I think it was 10,000 Bitcoins for one or for two pizzas or something like that, synonymous with being the most expensive pizzas ever now. Yeah, and then I heard about it again, kind of back in 2017, kind of back when like the ICO craze and when things were going nuts in terms of the cryptocurrency markets. An acquaintance from college was saying that, we should all buy Bitcoin and we'll all get like really, really rich. And I liked like finance, traditional finance, investing in stocks and things of that nature. So I literally was like, oh, this is tulip mania. There's nothing to this. This is garbage. And subsequently watching it rise all the way up to like 19K or 20K, whatever it was, and then crash down to about 7K, I felt like pretty vindicated that I was like, oh, I was right, and I really didn't look into Bitcoin again or cryptocurrency at all until pretty much of May or June of 2020. So I heard about it thanks to Preston Pitch from the Investors Podcast Network on We Study Billionaires. I really liked listening to their episodes. Specifically the quarterly masterminds, when they would recommend him, his co-host, and a couple other guests recommend stocks or equities or various things that they invest in. So a lot of times they'll give you Preston and Stig would both give you their things. Another guest called Hari, and then their last one, Tobias Carlisle, would all give their picks. And Tobias normally does, he does shorts. I'm not one for shorting anything, when it seems that everything's going up in fiat terms or nominal terms. So that was not my cup of tea, even though a lot of times I would agree with his analysis. Like he was like, oh, you should short Netflix. Like the price to earnings is way too overvalued. And like, I agreed with a lot of his metrics, but in terms of actual evaluation, their stock just kept going up. So you'd get crushed if you took the short, basically. But yeah, I remember listening to Preston mention it, I think in March or April. Yeah, I think it was early March. They were doing the quarterly mastermind, or end of March. And he mentioned Bitcoin as his pick. And I was like, oh, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, that's not my thing. And then again in June, they did the quarterly masterminds. They do them once a quarter, as the name entails. And he said Bitcoin again. And I really respect Preston and Stig, even though I had disagreed or agreed with them on various investments they've had over the years. I had never in the show heard them say the same pick in back-to-back quarters. So I had heard, like Stig said, he liked Google in like 2016 or 2017. And then he said he liked it again in 2020, but I'd never heard someone pick like Google or Apple or whatever stock in back-to-back quarters. So then in June of 2020, I was like, oh crap, I need to learn everything I need to know about Bitcoin and I need to buy some. So I bought like, I think $1,000 worth when it was right around like $9,000, I think, in that June. Or my running joke is I bought 3 days after Sailor, but we didn't find out until that August. But I bought like, I think June 7th or June 8th, June 9th, somewhere in that time frame, and it was hovering around like 9, 10, 11K. So I bought a little bit. I bought it on Robinhood, so that was a mistake in and of itself. But ultimately went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole after that. Started an investing podcast in the end of 2020 in November. It was kind of more around traditional finance, but then in the last 6 months or so, it's been pretty much only Bitcoin. I do bring on other guests, but the Amateur Investors podcast that I run, yeah, it's basically been all Bitcoin for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, I actually recall when I first saw you on Twitter, I saw the Amateur Investors podcast, and it didn't at the beginning, it didn't seem entirely Bitcoin focused, like you said. And I've sort of watched the transition, so it's been funny. It's a rabbit hole for sure.
Definitely.
But, shout out to Preston Pitch. You are one of many people who I have heard he brought the real orange pill down on. And I think he's just got, like you said, everyone respects his investment advice and opinion. And so, it's like you said, it's interesting to hear people bring up things multiple times like that. And when you really value like what these investors are saying, it takes notice. So,
yeah. But, and I feel even validated too that I like disagreed with him at first, and then I finally came around to it. So it was like I kind of felt I was missing something. I said Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, not my cup of tea, and like I'm glad he said it again, and so that way I came around to it and did more research. Definitely.
Yeah. Quick question: you mentioned that one of your friends wanted to get rich on Bitcoin? He was like, "Let's all buy it and get rich." Did he end up doing so and getting rich, or was he just?
Yeah. So they're a person that they were, let's just say they're not one to take investment advice from. They're kind of the friend that's more for gambling or quick returns. So they would recommend buying it, but they had bought it and basically they sold it, but as it crashed. So I think their entry point to when they bought to when they sold, it had crashed lower than their price. So they actually took a loss. But now that I'm in Bitcoin, I'm trying to get them back into buying it again. So yeah.
Yeah, it might be a tough sell after people who experienced 2017 may have a bad taste in their mouth, but you live and you learn. But moving on, I want to ask you what you would consider the primary life lesson that you've extracted from Bitcoin. I ask pretty much every guest this question, and I get varying answers. So I'm curious, like, what lessons you would say you've got.
Yeah, so this one's, I guess, it's not like a normal saying, but yeah, I guess like life is hard and life's not fair. I kind of see that in the Bitcoin space. Like it's not easy. I don't know coding that well. I know, I wish I did. I'm trying to learn it more, kind of learning like the SHA-256 algorithm, trying to learn what a hardware wallet is, trying to learn what a cold wallet is, a hot wallet, all the different nomenclature, how it works, how it operates, how to send it, receiving an address, sending an address, how different things are interoperable with one another, the Lightning Network, Liquid, there's always something to learn. So just because life's hard doesn't mean that it's not worth living and not worth learning. And even though like it's just improving yourself one little bit, one at a time. I know in the NFL, they kind of have a saying, always improve yourself 1% better than the day before. And I kind of like taking that into life as well. You're always trying to get 1% better, whether it's in your job, whether it's learning about Bitcoin, whether it's with your relationships with your family, your friends and loved ones. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good life lesson. And, I've had great returns in Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean it's not difficult, spinning up your own node and just kind of learning all the different ins and outs of it.
Right. Bitcoin is, a deep subject. There's a lot to learn about it, and certainly can be intimidating, but at the same time, it's sort of a proof of work thing as Bitcoin goes, I guess you would say, where the more you learn about it, the higher level of security you have. You learn about privacy practices, and you really learn how to use Bitcoin in like a secure way that leaves you feeling confident in the management of your money. But that's not a very quick journey, and it's not, like you said, a very easy journey. So I guess Bitcoin Magazine, we sort of hope to stand as a place for people to make that journey easier,
Yeah, definitely.
But moving on, I guess what change, Bitcoiners talk about so many different ways that society can be improved by this protocol technology and the ideas that come from it. What's the primary change that you would like to see in the world, that would come out of Bitcoin adoption?
Yeah, so I definitely want to see like more free and open markets and more true entrepreneurship it seems a lot of businesses can get easy capital or cash in the legacy markets in terms of free and easy debt and cheap loans basically given to small businesses or even large corporations that, while, I know there's a lot of talk about Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve and our current legacy financial system. But right now, when you look at global markets, a lot of our interest rates are pegged to zero, especially in the United States. In Europe, they're negative. So it's kind of incentivizing, I don't want to say bad behavior, but definitely gambling mentality of like, my money is, I'm leaving money in a bank and it's losing money by being in there. That's true just in the United States based on inflation alone. But even in Europe, leaving money in the legacy banking system, they're charging you to leave it there. So if you're not spending it, it's actually they're taking away from your stack, where in the United States, they're not taking away from your nominal amount, but it's losing purchasing power by the amount of money that we're printing. So yeah, I would love to see more true and free and open markets. I know I was getting into a spat with a bunch of people, and MMTers or monetary, what is it? Monetary theory, I guess the modern monetary theorists. There we go, MMT. I stumbled up on the words, but they were saying, oh yeah, like the debt limit doesn't matter, like we can pay our debts back. And it's like, yeah, if you own the money printer and you're not disincentivized or killed or stopped from doing that, yeah, I can. If you're running the Federal Reserve, you can print money. Oh, Casey, give me $100 and then I will give you more, the $100 or I'll give you $95 back in purchasing power just by printing the machine and handing you the money. Or, even if you want to say US, like, oh, give me $100 in 10 years, I'll give you $101.50, but I devalued it because I was just continually printing money. So yeah, it's easy enough when you own the money printer. You and I, it would be a bad bet to take that debt unless you're investing in an equity, an asset, or something else that appreciates faster. And Bitcoin's kind of the fastest horse in the race. It's the best horse in the race. It's the most global horse in the race. It trades 24/7. It's hard to find in anything else. Like the stock market's closed more than it's open. The real estate market, it'd be hard to find a real estate agent that'll show you houses at 3 a.m. in the morning. They're going to be thinking you're casing the place or, breaking in. So it's really, truly open 24/7. It's a global commodity or global property, and it's what people want. It's the best store of value. And I think, the best asset in the world.
Well said, Chris. Very well said. I think a lot of Bitcoiners would agree with you that the free and open market is probably the most important thing to take away from Bitcoin, in that money being the primary market upon which things transact. It's the most important thing to have free, open, decentralized, and not controlled by any one entity. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there, pretty much with what I think most Bitcoiners would say is probably the most important aspect of Bitcoin. And hopefully what Bitcoin enables is the free entrepreneurship that would lead to more innovation on top of it. And, it incentivizes people to invent technologies that really reduce our consumption and increase longevity of our resources. So, I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of impact that Bitcoin will have on free markets and the ability for people to innovate in them. But certainly well said. So I guess moving forward, there's so many things going on in the Bitcoin space. Like we mentioned earlier, Bitcoin 2022, go get your tickets, but many things to look forward to. I'm curious, Chris, what specific things are you looking forward to in the space? And, going into the next year, what are you looking forward to as well?
Yeah. So I guess the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is kind of expansion on things like the Lightning Network. I think it's still very early on. Running your own node, whether it's Get Umbrel, Get Raspberry Pi Blitz or Raspberry Pi Blitz, kind of learning how to use your Bitcoin, whether it's, coin joining in terms of privacy. So typically when you're buying from an exchange, it's KYC or know your customer. Basically, you're still kind of attached to the old legacy financial system. And in terms of surveillance and tracking, they could understand, you bought it from a KYC exchange. So I know Bitcoin Q&A, I had him on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. He was a very awesome Bitcoiner to talk to. And he talks about, OPSEC and keeping yourself private. I know you and I are more public working at a Bitcoin company, but he has a whole Bitcoiner's guide talking about non-KYC Bitcoin and learning how to, coin join it if you did buy KYC Bitcoin, and just kind of a lot of the privacy aspects, as well as I think Lightning's very, very young. I think third layer applications are even more so nuanced and new, and we don't even know what they're going to be yet. As of right now, you kind of have base layer Bitcoin or Bitcoin Core. Then you have the Lightning Network if you're saying second layer. And then kind of when you're thinking third layer functions, I know we're seeing a lot with like Sphinx Chat or Elements, or I'm looking forward to even like Zion, which is like kind of, they're trying to do a decentralized social media platform. So it's all built on top of, Bitcoin Core, on top of Lightning, on top of that. I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, I'm not a very good coder or developer, or I'm not as technical, even with my engineering background is kind of where I come from in the legacy system. But I think a lot of people are working on the space to build it on the hardest, soundest money in the world. And I think when they truly create something on top of that, the sky's the limit for not just us, but just anything in the world. I mean, if you equate it to the internet, Bitcoin's exceeding twice the rate, or I think about twice the rate of adoption as the internet was. And people were making fun of the internet back then. It's funny watching news anchors in the early 90s talk about like, what's the at symbol mean, when they're referring to like the at in an email address, or, not really understanding, like, you mean you can send a letter over this internet thing you talk about? And it's like, why wouldn't you just send a traditional letter? And like, it's now, I'm sure a lot of those news anchors, all they use is email or Facebook or social media platforms. So I see the sky's the limit really with Bitcoin being the hardest, soundest money. I think a lot of the other cryptocurrencies run into the issue of they're like unregistered securities, and they're basically trying to print their own money. They're just basically trying to be another perversion of the Federal Reserve, just in cyberspace. And even when in that perversion, they're not even secure. They sacrifice security for speed. And I think Bitcoin's, the true and only victor of it, really.
Right. The other protocols are chasing the Cantillon effect, and Bitcoin is eliminating it. And really, the only way to build the next generation of technology and apps and software and all that is on top of this sound money system. And as you said, once you get the basis, you can build on top of that the second layer, which allows us to transact at speed and at scale. And then on top of that, we're going to get some beautiful apps. I think, as you mentioned, a few of them, Sphinx being one of my ones I'm looking at. But I think we're going to get some very beautiful, useful applications where it's all built on top of Lightning and Bitcoin, and really enabled by those two. And yeah, you hit on an interesting point that I often think about myself, which is that we are public facing Bitcoiners. We have to have our names out there and our face, and we're well known to be connected with the industry. And yet I myself am a fan of privacy practices. So it's an interesting juxtaposition for those. And, I've talked to like Matt Odell about this before, where it's like, you can't, you just have to take the bullet for at some level when you're a public facing Bitcoiner, but you can also be an advocate for that privacy and maintain that yourself. So certainly an interesting idea. I guess to sort of round off with a interesting note that I love to ask everyone. And we're getting very close to the end of the year. We're recording this December 16th. So very, very little time left for much change here, of course. But I'm curious what your price prediction would be for the end of the year, as well as the end of 2030, which would be almost 8 years from now.
Yeah. So, at the beginning of the year, I was definitely more bullish than where we are right now. Not to say I'm not bullish on Bitcoin or anything in general, but I know in the beginning of the year, my price prediction was like 228 or 288. It was kind of, I forget which one was the Max Kaiser model. That was kind of the one that I was agreeing with. I think it's the less bullish of Plan B stock to flow model, or stock to FOMO model, as many people seem to be calling it right now. But I think come the end of the year, I still think, Bitcoin surprises you when you're least expecting it. I know we're at like 48K at the time of recording this, or 49K. I forget where it is. I still think we can shoot up to 100K in 2 weeks time. I mean, Bitcoin can move very, very quickly. So I'm still hopeful for the 100K mark. I guess I know you're asking me by 2030. I kind of have a better idea of 2035. And this is kind of when I joined and kind of was going down my Bitcoin journey. 2035 is, and I think it's in May is the official time. You can look on bitbo.io. They tell you when the halvenings occur. But and also when the stock supply, when we've mined all of it based on the halving cycles and all that. And I think they're projecting by like May of 2035 that we will have mined 99% of the supply. And I really see it when I got into Bitcoin. It's really a 14-year race or 13-year race to basically that date. And like getting to 2035, I'll have aged 14 years. I'm sure you will as well, Casey. But yeah, so I think even being super conservative, with a 30% annual increase in price, and that's being super conservative. I know Bitcoin's kind of been at like 200% or 190 annualized rate of return. But even if you're being super conservative at 30% a year, assuming we hit 100K at the end of this year, that would put us at $80 trillion market cap. So if you divide that market cap by the 21 million Bitcoins, that would mean Bitcoin would be hovering around right about $4 million per Bitcoin in nominal terms. Obviously, there's a lot of macro factors, and I'm not a TA guy like Dylan or Will per se, but I just think that makes the most sense. I think right now we're seeing a lot of negative yielding bonds. I think it's going to easily gobble up the gold's market cap at 10 trillion. I know in the United States, I think we have 26 trillion of negative yielding debt. And then on top of that, like as it's just kind of snowballing, it'd be acquiring more and more negative yielding debt as we continue to print money. So I think 80 trillion market cap and ultimately around 4 million of Bitcoin by 2035. So the race is, if I'm buying Bitcoin at 38K or 48K or 50K, 60K, that's going to seem very small when it's sitting at 4 million a piece by 2035.
Heck yeah. I am with you, Chris. 100K by the end of the year. It's still in the cards, everyone.
My true price prediction, though, is definitely 716,000 blocks. So that's the true price. As long as we keep spitting them out about 10 block every 10 minutes. I said, I did the calculation. It was about 716,389 blocks by the tail end of 2021. So that's the true price. As long as that keeps going, nothing else needs to worry about.
Exactly. Yeah, many people answer to this question. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. What do you mean what the price is going to be? But I love your level of analysis on the 2035 look. I think, like you said, that's quite conservative, but it's also great to hear that you've got some logic behind it. And Bitcoiners are we don't just believe in this. There's actual things that are, financial instruments that are not performing, which are going to lead people to invest in Bitcoin, which, theoretically could lead, as you said, to $4 million per Bitcoin by 2035. 14 years. Wow. What a long time away it feels like.
It does. Yeah, that would be a while away. So it's like, it keeps you more humble, but it's like, if you're stacking at, 40K, 50K, whatever it is, it keeps you humble, keep stacking sats, and keep enjoying the journey, learn more, keep your privacy, upgrade your privacy, and, learn how to use the tools that you have in front of you.
Right, folks. The fun is not in the destination, but in the journey, right? It's in the friends you make along the way. And along those lines, make sure to come make friends at Bitcoin 2022, April 6th to 9th, code Taco Plebs, get yourself 10% off. And for the deep dive analysis, use Macro 21. Thanks for joining us, Chris. I really have enjoyed having you on the show, and I think your answers were excellent.
Thanks, Casey. It's a pleasure being here. Have a good one, everyone. Make sure to go to the conference. Casey and I will definitely be there. We'll probably be running around really busy, but definitely at nighttime, we'd love to hang out and meet all the cool Bitcoin plebs out there.
Yeah, for real. Get your conference tickets on the website. And thanks for checking out Meet the Plebs. We will see you on the next episode.
Have a good one, everyone.